In this demo, we're going to create virtual machines using Hyper-V. To open Hyper-V Manager, we click on Tools, Hyper-V Manager. We're going to right-click the server, go to New, and then Virtual Machine. On the New Virtual Machine Wizard page, we're going to first click Next, and then we're going to select a name for our new virtual machine. I'm going to call it Windows Server 2019. You also have the option to store the virtual machine in different locations. Just make sure the location you choose has enough space. You can see it's grayed out here. If we take snapshots of the virtual machine, they're going to be stored wherever the virtual machine is stored. Take that into account when you start this process. We hit Next and specify Generation. This is a relatively new section. It was added back in Windows Server 2016. Before that, Hyper-V didn't have this, but it now gives you the option to support more legacy hardware. Sometimes environments use mixed operating systems or different bit versions, like 32 or 64-bit operating systems, in which Generation 2 doesn't allow for 32-bit and doesn't support all previous versions of Hyper-V. You need to understand your environment and which type of servers and other things you're going to be using. Generation 2 here also supports the newer virtualization features and has a UEFI-based firmware, but like I said, it can only do 64-bit, not 32. We're going to select Generation 1 for our purposes. Now we're going to set up the initial startup memory. We can change this now, or we can change it after the fact. It doesn't matter. We can also specify dynamic memory for this virtual machine, but we're going to wait until we've created the virtual machine to do that. On the Configure Networking page, you can select a virtual network switch right here. We're also going to wait to do that because we can change that later. On the Connect Virtual Hard Disk page, we're going to select a virtual hard drive. By default, it's creating a new virtual hard disk, and if we create it through the wizard, it'll be a dynamically increasing VHDX and have up to 127 gigabytes. We use a different wizard to create a fixed size VHD if we don't want it to be a dynamically expanding VHD. We either create that pre-VHD and select Use an existing virtual hard disk, or select Attach a virtual hard disk later. If you do create the virtual hard drive through the wizard, it's going to be dynamically expanding, and you can convert it later. Hyper-V gives you that option. Now, if you selected Gen 1, this is what you generally see. But if you selected Gen 2, a few of these options will be missing. On Gen 1, we can install the OS from either a CD or DVD, a physical drive, or an ISO file. We also have the option to install from floppy, although that's not very common and hasn't been for a long time. The last option is to install from a network-based server, assuming we have connectivity. Since we didn't select any virtual networks, that option is grayed out. If we'd have connected a network adapter, it would be active and we could select it. We'll install the operating system later. Now, one thing to note, if we did do Generation 2, we'd have the option to install from an image ISO, but not from CD, DVD, or virtual floppy, and we'd still have the network-based installation option as well. After hitting Next, it just shows us basically what the settings we've selected are. We're going to click Finish, and it creates the virtual machine for us. So now we're going to right-click our virtual machine and go to Settings. You can see that we can change any of the choices we made using the wizard, except for the generation settings. The Generation 1 or 2 settings can't be changed after the wizard. You have to make that decision before. If you need something that does support legacy options and you selected Generation 2, you'll have to create a new virtual machine. But for our purposes with Generation 1, we can go in and change things like the virtual hard disk, specify what's on the DVD drive, connect our network adapter, or use any of these options here. It's convenient to install virtual machines from ISOs. ISOs are images of CDs or DVDs, and that's what we're going to be using. We'll browse to our server image file. We're going to go to Image File and Browse, and here I have my image file. This is our ISO file. When we clicked Open, what we basically did was told the server, this is where our image file is. It's kind of like putting an image disk into your computer's DVD drive. That's how it treats it on boot. The difference is that this is a virtual machine and the file is just a copy of a DVD, so it's obviously not an actual DVD. ISOs can be stored on pretty much any type of storage device. You can have them locally on the machine, or you can boot them from a USB drive. We're going to go ahead and click OK. Currently, the virtual machine has nothing on its hard drive yet. It has a Windows Server 2019 DVD on the CD drive, And if we double-click it, or if you don't like double-clicking, you can right-click and click Connect, you can see the machine is currently turned off. You can see right here that this button, if you hover over it, does a Control-Alt-Delete command. You can also do this within the virtual machine by pressing Control-Alt-End. If you do the regular Control-Alt-Delete instead, it basically sends that command to the server you're actually on and not the virtual machine. So make sure it's Control-Alt-End. Next is the Start button. If we click this button, it powers on the VM. We're going to go ahead and click it. This button, Turn Off, is kind of like a hard stop. It's the equivalent of a hard shutdown on your machine. So if I just held the button and hard crashed the machine, that's basically what this does. Then we have the Shutdown button that sends a shutdown signal. And we have the Save button. The Save button is similar to hibernating on a laptop. The Save button stops the virtual machine from using physical resources, but it maintains the state of the machine. If you have to stop what you're doing and maybe do some other function on the server, this can be useful if you don't want to lose where you're at or you want to pick it up a little bit later. Also, if you have to perform a different function first before making a change, you might consider this option. Okay, so that's how you create a virtual machine using Hyper-V. You can see here that this has brought us to our installation window since it just booted that ISO from the Windows Server ISO, from what it sees as the DVD drive. So from here, we'd finish installing our operating system and the virtual machine would be ready for use. But that's not part of this demo, so I'll stop here.